Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the weekly Shakeout of Paula's Run Club Road to London with me, Paula Radcliffe.
And me, Christopher Thompson.
And right at the very top of the show, a quick heads up that if you are out in Dubai, and because it is already Thursday the 29th, we will be doing a shakeout as part of the pre-run up to the start of the Dubai Marathon on Sunday, the 1st of February. So if you are around in Dubai, meet us down at the Jumeirah Beach running path. You'll know where that is, and watch out on socials for more details on where exactly to find us. Come and join us. You going to be there, Thommo, or not?
No. If only.
Next time.
If only. Yeah, if only. I've got two very needy children, as you know, that need me around. But anyway, awesome. So you're going to be there, just to round that off.
Yes, absolutely. I'm out there every year working and commentating with Tim Hutchins on the Dubai Marathon feed, and we do get the shakeout going. We started it for the first time last year. Thank you to everyone that turned up, and we're building it and growing it this year.
Very good, very good. I'll look at flights.
Okay, quick, it's tonight.
Okay, fair enough. Right, should we get on with the first one? Yes.
Yeah.
This one comes in from Carol. Hi, Paula and Thommo. Love the podcast, and you've kept me company on a lot of solo training runs for London and New York marathons last year. Fantastic. Wondered if you can assist with some advice, please. I'm currently having some real issues with feeling of heavy quads when running, treadmill and outdoors. My calves generally feel tight. It seems to be happening right from the outset. And while I'm still able to complete sessions, it's not overly enjoyable and feel like I'm stuck in my training. I currently use the New Balance Fusail Rebel V4, also the Nike Alphafly. I used the Alphafly for New York, but did a London marathon in the Adidas Zero Pro 4, my preferred running shoe for races. But oddly, I get a sensation of burning in the balls of my feet when I do anything above 9 miles in them. Any advice on how I can stop that? Appreciated. Training at the moment for a half at the end of April with a dream of getting below 1 hour 45. Currently, I'm at 1 hour 46.17 from Scottish half last year. And before starting training for Berlin Marathon later last year, a dream of getting below 4 hours. 4:09 in London last year, down from 4 hours 58. Blimey, that's a big jump this year. And New York was 4:10, which again is a big jump to 4:09 in London because it's a harder course. I was on for sub 4 until miles 21-22. I think we could all identify with that. Usually do 5 runs a week, 2 tempo or interviews, 2 easy, 1 long, with 3 S&C sessions, and I'm religious about stretching each evening, though not always after running due to time constraints. My question is, any idea what the cause of my heavy quads and plateau feeling could be? Could it be dehydration, the Rebel being too fast in a flat shoe for me, not enough strength, or something else? Also, any alternatives to Rebel 4 you suggest? I know running shoes are personal. Any help there? Thank you very much for your help, Carol.
Right, okay, first thing, heavy quads and tight calves. Tight calves can be down to the plate, can't they, Thommo? The added plate, I know, can put it, basically the plate is in there to increase or decrease the time you spend on the ground, increase the speed with which your foot moves through that movement. So it can put a little bit of extra strain on the calves, which is why extra calf strengthening is good. Shouldn't really cause the heavy quads though. So I'm kind of thinking maybe check out magnesium and see if you're a little bit low in magnesium, because if it's not going off in sessions, it's not due to muscle tightness because you are doing the stretching, then it might be something like that rather than shoes. Unless you've got a lot of downhills in your training where your quads are kind of working extra hard. So I would look at that. I think it's a good idea to rotate the shoes as you're doing. If one of the shoes, did she say, was it the Pro 4s she was talking about, causing the burning in the ball of your foot, maybe just don't wear those for races more than 9 miles, because that's a little bit of a kind of a warning sign coming up if you've already tried all of the anti-friction creams and things like that in your shoes. So yeah, I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with that shoe choice. Might be worth getting a gait analysis done just to really get an expert's take on what is the best shoe for you and your running style. And like I say, if you are using those carbon shoes, which you are doing, make sure you do extra foot strengthening all round, as we've talked about before, and especially the calf strengthening exercises as well. And then I think the times will come down on their own. I don't think there's a lot wrong with that training plan. Do you, Thommo?
No, I think the only two things I was going to suggest is the burning in the feet usually, unless it's like a, kind of an injury reasoning, a burning in the foot, especially after a period of time in the shoe, is usually because the foot is deactivated. It's just not working, and so you effectively got a relaxed foot because carbon shoes shift the load higher up the food chain or running chain in this case, and so if your foot's too relaxed and there's not tension or activation or strength within that foot, then you're going to get soreness somewhere and overload an area that doesn't want to be loaded. So I would definitely look at foot strengthening to link with the calf strengthening, and also keep always talk about calf and lower back health go hand in hand. The quads, in my experience, has 9 times out of 10 always been linked to lack of fuel. It's kind of
Yeah.
almost like the early warning sign that you might just need to slightly uptick in carbohydrate intake. It's kind of that's the beautiful thing about our bodies. We tend to get warning signs before we get the big disaster of flatlining or whatever it might be, or injuries. It's just hearing it, and quads is a really nice way of kind of just subtly going, okay, right, I might need to just slightly up my food and water intake, and that might be a really good tool for you to use just so you don't dig holes. So that would be my suggestion. But yeah, I think like you say, overall it's going in the right direction and good packages, and these are kind of little 1%ers that might just help nudge well, if you get another hour off your PB, that would be great, wouldn't it? 4 hours 50 odd to 4 hours 10, and then before we know it the conversation's sub 3.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that question, Carol, and the very best of luck. Please do let us know how you get on, and hopefully the quads get better. And between it, the magnesium and the fueling, we kind of sort through that element for you and get you back racing. Right, on to the emails now. And the first one, so we are going through these in order, so apologies if you are waiting. I know lots of you are sending in your questions, so thank you very much for that. We are getting through them as quickly as we can. This one comes in from Danielle. Hi, Paula and Thommo. Happy New Year. Love the show. Thanks so much for all the great advice and motivation. I had a question I was hoping you could help with. I'm running my second marathon this April, the Manchester Marathon. My first was Paris last year, where I finished in 4:05:30, and I'd love to go sub 4 this time. I think that's realistic. I had a few months out with a hip injury, and after a few months of physio and mobility, I started running again in October, and I feel like I'm back to where I was last year, if not a little bit stronger. I recently ran a half marathon in 1:50, which was a personal best. I'm reusing a similar plan to last year that a coach wrote for me, and it's set by time rather than distance, which I quite like. I'm running 4 times a week, one easy, one tempo, one interval, and one long run, often with 35 to 45 minutes at marathon pace at the end. I've built up to 17 miles so far. That's a good number. And I have a couple of half
Yes.
marathons and a 20-mile race planned at about 5 weeks out. I'm also doing strength training a couple of times a week. I just wondered if there's anything else you'd recommend I should or could be doing at this stage to give myself the best shot at sub 4. My weekly kilometres for January and February works out between 50 and 60 kilometres a week. Thanks so much, and that's from Danielle. What do you think, Tomo?
It looks a pretty robust kind of program at the moment. I think the two things spring to mind. One of them is sometimes before you look to add, you just need to consolidate. And I think off the back of your hip injury and what's going on, you're still kind of your body's still adapting to what you're doing, and I think you'll get benefit from not kind of reinventing the wheel too much at the moment, or adding an extra wheel at the moment. The only thing, and again, you kind of alluded to this, Paula, when we spoke about it, is strides. And I think I'd go possibly a step further and look at maybe hill strides, things like that. Especially something I used to do quite often in my marathon days was hill strides the day before a good long run the next day, so it almost helps with activation. So if you're doing these 20-mile runs and you're doing a run the day before or 2 days before, just doing and again, it's not a session, it's very much a case of activation or strides. So it doesn't have to be too aggressive, 15-20 seconds, and it's just more about technique than anything really.
And how many do you think? 4 to 6?
I mean,
Or is that too many?
it's enough to feel activated and not too many to feel tired, and that kind of is quite an individual thing. For me, to me, I would at least get to 8 and probably maybe 12 max. But again, I would go on tiredness and feel, because sometimes you
Mm.
need a couple just to really know where you're at. But if you did 2 hill strides, the likelihood of that doing anything is unlikely. So you want to do enough to, like I say, feel like you're an inch taller when you go jog back home,
Mm.
but not 2 inches shorter because you're tired by doing too
That's a
many.
good way of doing it. Take a tape measure out with you.
Why are you measuring yourself to this tree? It's always like you have a tree with your different heights of based on how you feel. But
But
genuinely,
good.
I think I can't see anything wrong with just
No, with sticking
repeating
as
that.
you are. I mean, as she said, she's improved so much already. She feels like she's in better shape now. Started back in October, so I think it looks as though it's going well. I think trust in it, Danielle. Maybe just add a little bit of those pickups you're kind of doing at the end of the long run that you talk about. Just add in the hill strides, as Tomo said, or even just strides on the flat after some of your quick runs, and just to get the kind of turnover going a bit more. Everything else is really in there. So I think it's all going in the right direction. You're getting stronger all the time. I was talking about this with Raf on a run the other day and trying to explain to him that you don't improve in a linear fashion, do you? You kind of go
Mm.
in steps. So you kind of will go up a big step and then kind of go along for a little bit and then go up again. So right when you might feel like you're plateauing, you're getting ready to go up with another one. So hang in there, keep faith in the training, and good luck. And please let us know how you get on, Danielle.
Fantastic. Right. This one comes in from Mark.
Hmm.
Hi, Paula. Congratulations and well deserved on the OBE. Yes, well done. And Tomo, 2026 resolution ice bath. Yes, I know. Like, I'm just, it's not going to drop it. I did look at it the other day and I thought, so I don't want to ruin the box it's in, just keep it all nice, but I will get it out. Thank you both for such an inspiring, positive and often humorous pod. Oh, thank you very much. As you start with the build up to London again, I hope it's okay via this pod to wish everyone, especially any first timers, all the luck with their training plans, and hope the day itself is all they want it to be. We also feel exactly the same. The experience of my first London in 2025 will stay with me forever. Yeah, absolutely. It was such a mental effort. It was as much a mental effort as physical, despite a focusing training and nutrition plan. Sorry, rephrase that. Despite a focused training and nutrition plan, I ended up working through my ABC goals with the fantastic crowd support and my why running in memory of my dad. I made it to the finish line in 5 hours 42. For me, at least, there was definitely unfinished business. For first time, we always get that unfinished business feel.
Yeah.
Roll forward to November 25 on a cool blue sky day in Turin, and with the addition of a pack of salt sticks, a much happier run was had, finishing in 4 hours 52. Still need to build experience for the last few kilometres though next time. So to all heading to London this year, and wishing you good luck and good running ahead. For helpful advice via this pod, you're in the right place. Kind regards, Mark. For context, 53-year-olds, 6'5". Wow, he's a tall
Wow.
lad. 98 kilograms. Started running in 2022 with Couch 5K. Other distance 54 minutes and a half marathon in 2 hours 2:11. After following Cooper marathon for plan for London, followed 12 weeks 10k plan for Vitality 10k, then straight into 8 weeks marathon for Turin. At 35k, main notable issue was inner thigh muscles, both legs, no injury. Not sure if this would be considered a wall or not. Fuel, tailwind, and Kindle mint cakes. All right, Kindle
I
mint
love
cakes.
that.
Wow, and salt sticks addition from London. Wow. Well, hopefully people can take some inspiration from that and what he's just the story
Yeah.
he's sent and how he's doing, because I think that's one of the big things at the moment is we're all kind of taking something from each other that we can do it. And I'm sure a 6'5" guy running is like, my brother's like I think 6'1" or 6'2", and he can barely stand up in my living room, the ceiling so high, so he would definitely be crouching, but very impressive.
Yeah, so the question in there, I mean, I think it is the inner thigh muscles and the noticeable issue that they were sore towards the end, around about 35k. I mean, there's a couple of things. First off, there, Tom, as you fatigue at the end of the marathon, your body just finds it harder to keep its form, to stay in alignment. So it might be a little bit of fatigue just starting to creep in. So all round core strengthening could really help kind of stave that off. Maybe check out the shoes as well. If you do pronate a lot, it might put a bit more stress on that inner thigh. And the other final issue is going back to what you said in the previous question about the thighs being where you notice the glycogen fatiguing first. They are where you're one of your biggest muscles for storing that glycogen in. So it might just be the general fatigue towards the closing stages of the marathon as you start using up all of those glycogen stores. And that's why carrying as much of that with you as possible. Maybe just bump up the Kendall mint cake in the first half.
Do you like Kendall mint cake?
I do actually. I used to have them. I used to have them when we did hikes as kids. We used to
Oh,
go
did
off into
you?
the Yorkshire Dales, and I used to get a bit of Kendall mint cake to go with me there.
See, even though I'm from Barrow, like I haven't had one, but I can't do mint. I like mint in
Okay,
certain things. Like I like mint in like a dinner, like mint like
mint sauce.
leaves or mint sauce or something. But in a kind of like a cake or a chocolate, like I can't. It's not for me.
See, I'm with you on the chocolate. Chocolate is chocolate. Don't put the mint in it.
Well, this
So
is
I,
why.
I am with you on the chocolate, but the Kendall mint cake is only the mint, so it's fine.
Well, yeah. Well, Gemma is a mint chocolate lover, so she knows that if she buys like an ordinary chocolate bar, the chance of her getting it to before me is unlikely. So she buys mint chocolate, so that because she knows even if it's the last bit of chocolate in the house and I'm desperate, I still won't touch it.
See, this is runners. Do you not have separate cupboards?
No, we don't.
No,
But she
this is
does have
my
hiding.
chocolate, and that's your chocolate.
I don't think she'll listen to this episode. I know where her hiding spots are.
If it doesn't help you if it's mint chocolate, though, does it?
This
That's
is
why she
true,
does it.
but that's why she doesn't hide that because she knows I won't touch it. But she hides the
Okay.
stuff that she hides the stuff she knows I will go for.
Okay, Theo, if you're listening, go and tell mummy.
But yeah, she does wonder why it kind of goes down quicker than she thought. But yeah, anyway, but yeah, I don't. For transparency, I don't have sweet hiding spots. I'm too good at quickly eating things. So anyway,
Okay.
I could
All
go off on
right.
tangents. Kendall mint
Right, let's
cakes,
get on to
lovely.
the next one then. This one comes in from Boo. She does put in brackets proper name Anna. Hi Paula and Tomo. Congratulations, Paula. Thank you. Testament to your influence both running and your support for runners. My question relates to marathon training. I'm doing the virtual London, having done the actual London last year. It was my first marathon except the 2020 virtual London, and so I didn't really know what to expect with times or anything. I struggled with the heat, so did a lot of people, so please don't feel bad about that, and getting enough water, and I finished in 4 hours 40, which is still really good. Since then, having upped my running, I've done 10K in around about 50 minutes, half in 1 hour 52. I have the Cambridge half in March, the virtual in April, and then a 50K ultra in the Lake District in June. Wow, that's actually a really good program ramping into it. Over the Christmas period, I've been running around about 50 miles a week with some 15-mile and 18-mile long runs. Normally when I'm at work, I average about 30 miles. I think that means per week. My question, do I start again at week 1 of a marathon training plan? That would be scaling back quite a lot from the amount of running and the long distances that I'm now doing. Thanks so much for the help. That's from Boo, proper name Anna. I think she's probably fine just easing in from there. She definitely doesn't need to go to a week 1, does she, Tomo?
No, I wouldn't say so, but I think it's definitely when you're coming at a stronger start point. I think for me, I would almost take the approach of not scaling it back as much, but potentially factoring in the fact that you are fitter and potentially might be slightly ahead of the curve in the program. So factoring more down weeks or just easier moments, because take advantage of the fact you're fitter and can handle more. But it also, like I say, the danger is that you could potentially be getting not peaking's not necessarily the right word, but certainly getting ahead of the curve a bit sooner than you necessarily want to. So I think sort of shifting some kind of easier weeks or flowing the weeks a bit more, because again, I think you said it about RAF with this linear curve. I think when you're starting out for the first time on a unique journey from quite a base level, you're trying to incrementally use steps. But I think when you have a level of experience, it's more about kind of you seeing it as a wave, like almost like you go up and down, you waving your training. So you're kind of getting back to neutral, do high running for a couple of weeks and bring it down for a week and up. So it's more of a wave than necessarily a step progression, because you've got a slightly different. Does that make sense? You understand what I'm saying, by the
Yes,
way?
yeah, totally, totally, and yeah, totally agree. So I think to summarize, I definitely don't think you need to go to week one. Kind of, she mentions where she is with the long runs, doesn't she?
Mm.
Absolutely, just keep building on that. And I don't, I mean, it's hard to say jump in at a certain week, but as you're talking about with the waves, just kind of gauge where you're at. I think it's really nice progression that she set up with the half through to the virtual, through to the ultra. Just, yeah, really kind of focus on recovery, obviously, between that virtual and the ultra in June, and kind of really, really work on the recovery and the refueling. Probably making sure that you gel strategies and what you have to carry. The difference being in the ultra that you absolutely have to carry a little bit more to kind of keep you through that. But very
Mm.
best of luck. And again, just let us know how you get on. Right, I think we've got time for one more before we skip over quickly to the honours board. This comes in. Do you want to read the one from Paul, or shall I read it
Yes,
through, Tomo?
you can do it. Yeah, go on.
Yeah. Hi, Paula and Tomo. I found your podcast entertaining and informative. Paula, having your bespoke Portaloo at the London Marathon made me chuckle because I was in the Portaloo at the Lisbon Marathon when the start gun went off. Sorry about that. Quick, we're on to the start. My top tip for any first-time non-elite marathon runner is to make sure that you've got some loo paper in your shorts before the marathon starts. Tomo, great tips on running up hills. Tell me more, come to that later, as I'm coming to asking for advice for the Boston in 2026. On another note, I recently completed the Valencia Marathon in December of 25. I followed the official Nike Valencia training plan for a 3:15 marathon from start to finish, but it was a positive split and I finished in 3 hours 21. That was on the back of a negative split of nearly 2 minutes from Milton Keynes Marathon, where I ran 3:24. Yeah, but it's a big jump he was trying to improve there. So felt overconfident going into Valencia. However, I was a little bit disappointed with my time. The temperature was a little warm. Yes, it was warm in Valencia. My marathon box started at 19 degrees temperature C and ended up at 26 by the finish line. So I definitely think that did play a role into his finishing time from 27 kilometres. My times went south from 4:35 Ks to 5-minute Ks. I carried my own SIS electrolytes and fuel and drank water on the route. I did long runs. I did 1:35 kilometre run, 2:25k runs, and 3:21k runs in training, tempos, and speed work. However, I always did long runs alone at an easy pace. Question: would joining a running club help increase my marathon times, and should I be doing long runs closer to marathon pace? Yes, I would advise by the end, certainly. I have Boston this April the 20th. So, question for Paula: how would you recommend I train to hit a sub 3:20? 3:15 would be better time, and run my splits. I'm training my runs up and down the Exeter Hills. So yeah, you've got some great simulation there for the Boston Hills. Cross training weekly, strength training in the gym 2 to 3 times a week, running 10 to 15 kilometres to the Saturday park runs, followed by a fairly fast park run. That's a good one. I look after my health, have extra protein and recovery drinks, rest and sleep well. Big thumbs up to your guest speaker, Steve Backley. Great to hear his story and positive approach to fitness. I had a total extra hip. That's good. So giving he trains in Exeter. I had a total Exeter left hip replacement 8 years ago, and have been running with no pain or injuries. So anyone who is waiting for a total hip replacement, keep motivated and you will be back running once your muscles have recovered in no time. Question for you both. Which marathon which you've competed in are you most proud of? Keep up the pod work. Thanks, from Paul. P.S. When are you holding a marathon training weekend in the southwest?
Hmm.
We'll get there at some point because Tomo
Yes,
spends a lot of time down there.
I
So
do.
quickly to skip back through those. First question is: would a running club help increase his marathon times, and should he be doing long runs close to marathon race pace? I think certainly by the end of it. Was he doing enough long runs? And then finally, which marathon that you've competed in are you most proud of?
Hmm.
Well, I'll start that off, shall I? With Boston, because I can't believe I got through it with my calf going at 9 miles. So I was proud that I managed to finish it, even though I would have been happier with one that didn't hurt and a slightly quicker time. But I was proud I got through it. So that's the answer for that one. And do you want to do the questions and then I'll come in on the hills for Boston, Tomo?
Sorry, my thing dropped out. So which one do you want me to do? Sorry, I
Which thing dropped out?
my
Sorry, yeah, yeah. So
I'll show you on the screen. This dropped
okay,
out, so I couldn't hear you.
yeah, okay, all right. Plug it
So I
back
couldn't hear
in
you again. I plugged it
so
back
you
in.
can hear
Sorry.
us now.
Yeah.
The question is, would joining a running club help increase his marathon times, and should he be doing his long runs closer to marathon race pace?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Yes, both for. Yeah, completely. I mean, joining a club. The thing about joining a club is it's going to put less emphasis on the session in a mentally draining. It's basically you and the session. By adding other people or other entities, it just helps create another dynamic to the session, which just makes it mentally more relaxing and potentially more fun and more easygoing. And when you're in that mode of all those things I've just said, it generally makes it easier to bring out the best in yourself in a session. So joining a club, I think, is the social aspect and everything, because and again with the club, it kind of potentially will help spice up the type of training you're doing. So they might be doing a session that's slightly different to what you had on paper, which the route. I know people talk a lot about kind of consistency being this big thing, and I always in my head go, well, you could almost go, consistency of doing the wrong thing is not necessarily a good thing, and actually what is consistency? And actually I'd actually think a better phrase is mixing up training is actually better for the body than before consistency. And so a club can do that. It can create change and change up sessions in a way that your body really thrives in. So I think there's some of my many reasons why you would join a club. And yes, I think the careful thing around getting close to marathon or running marathon pace close to the race, that it's not like you need to run. Like if you take a 5K very quickly, you're trying to run at race pace, potentially over distance, like run 8 to 10K of volume at 5K pace. You can't do that in a marathon. You can't run 26.2 miles at your goal pace and do it for 30 miles. It's not the same. So it's not like you're trying to run as much as you can at pace, but you need to touch base with it and put your body under that kind of stress.
And
As
make
much
it
as you
marathon
can.
effort.
Make it exactly. I was
Yeah.
going to say it's marathon effort, and that doesn't necessarily always mean pace. So for me, like where I used to train, 10 to 15 miles pace of, like, say, if my goal pace was 5 minute mile in, running at 5:10, 5:15 on a course which I knew kind of offset that, and so mechanically the strain was less, but physiologically it was the same. So it's about kind of the accumulation of effort at marathon rather than just in a one run doing tons of it, would be my best way of saying it.
Yeah,
And
absolutely. And
the marathon I'm most proud of,
yeah, go on then.
without a doubt, the marathon I'm most proud of is New York, when in 2018 I stood on that start line. Truly, I stood on that start line thinking that I possibly was in the best shape I've ever been in for a marathon in my life on that start, and it's been backed up by Ricky Sims. He feels the same way. I was crushing that year, everything. I was 37 at the time, and I'd had a real kind of come back to life, and I stood in that start line genuinely believing anything was possible. And I went from that to basically, I missed a water bottle on the first station, made the rookie mistake of running back to get it, losing a gap, chasing. I made every mistake under the sun. I got to halfway and I've never felt pain like it in my quads, in everything. My whole body shut down. And I honestly, to this day, I don't know how I got to the finish, because, by the way, if you can hear the bins, don't worry. The bins are
Your bin's
out. The bin's out, and they're about to take over. But it just, for a half marathon, it was like an out of body experience of how I got to the end. And I think I'm so proud all I had in my head is don't stop. There was no pace, nothing. It was just try to put one in front. Just the effort to put one foot in front of the other was so painful. And I was an emotional mess at the end of it. So I'm so proud of it because it's the deepest I've ever gone within myself to get to a finish line. And so it's not always about pace. It's not always about. I'm just so proud I got to the end.
Yeah. So, final question from Paul's letter there is regarding Boston and the hills in Boston. I think you are actually perfectly placed with the Exeter Hills there. I would really advise building sustained long runs down the hills into your sessions. So on your long runs, trying to make sure that you are going downhill for kind of a long period of time. You can have some other ups in the middle of it, breaking it up. But that for me was the biggest thing for Boston. They talk about the uphills. Heartbreak's not that bad. And if you've been running up those hills in Exeter, you really won't think it's that bad. It is the fact that you are going gradually downhill for long periods of time. So it's really focusing that strength in your legs to be able to absorb those downhills and respond and be able to kind of make the switch to go up the little hills that break it up. And I think if you can do that, you will be all set. So the training that you've got looks great. Perhaps going into that park run, just make sure there's a bit of downhill before it, and then you get to the park run, pick it up a little bit. That will be able to really activate it. So just to make sure that your quads, as we've talked about on the downhills, but your quads and glutes can really kind of make that change from downhills to uphills. And it's not big, steep changes. It's more that you've been running gradually downhill for a bit, and then you're going to go up, and then you're going to come down again. So making sure you build that into the training. And if you do that, I absolutely think you can hit your goal time, because if you haven't got a wind in your face in Boston, and you get a nice clear day, steady day, and not too strong of a wind or a wind behind you, then that will help you to hit the sub 320. So please let us know. Good luck. And you've got all the main elements in there. So hopefully it will be absolutely fine. About all we've got time for, Tom. I'm just going to quickly skip over to the honours board. I think I have a couple of nominations. Do you have one from the texts?
Yes, I have one from Imogen. Hi, Paul and Chris. I would love to nominate my good friend and clubmate Nicole Funnell for the honours board. Since joining the running club in 2022, she's gone from strength to strength and has some seriously impressive PBs, including a 2 hours 52 marathon. Well done. Third place in South Downway's 100-mile. Blimey. Yeah, I'd love to do that, And has just been selected to run for England at the Anglo-Celtic Plate 100k in March.
Brilliant.
Despite own achievement, she is still fiercely supportive and encouraging to other runners. Is a great friend and always up for silly running adventures. I wonder what they are. Nicole is also a fan of the podcast, and I hope this gives her a moment to take in everything she's achieved, but also a valued member of the running community she is. Thank you so much, Imogen. What a lovely message. Just for Nicole. Listen, absolutely fantastic. This is what it's all about, is messages like that. And Imogen, that is such a great glowing testament to Nicole, and congratulations to her, everything she's achieved, and being such a great friend and teammate. Well done.
Brilliant. Well done, Nicole. And the next one comes in from Dan. Hi, Paula and Chris. I love the podcast and found it so useful during my marathon training block at the start of 2025. I'm a member of the Manchester YMCA Harriers, and I wanted to give a shout out to another member of our club who is currently taking on a simply mind-blowing challenge. As I'm writing this, Hannah Cox is currently taking on her 60th consecutive marathon as she aims to run across India. This will require her to run 100 marathons over 4,000 kilometres, the route of an old inland customs line that the East India Company used to control, trade and extract resources from India. Wow. Hannah is not a professional athlete and only started running back in 2024. Wow, which makes the challenge even more incredible. She is hoping to raise over £1 million for 4 charities that are tackling climate change. Therefore, she would really appreciate if you would give her a shout out on your podcast. Absolutely, shout out to Hannah. We don't have your surname, I'm afraid, but you would do. Hannah Cox. Big shout out to Hannah Cox. You and your listeners can find out more of the details of the challenge at www.projectsaltrun.com or follow Project Salt on Instagram. There you go. Have a look at Project Salt Run to be able to get more details on Hannah's challenge, and very, very best of luck, and huge shout out to Hannah Cox. She may well be nearing the end by the time we've got to reading this out. So that's you on the honours board, and thank you to Dan for nominating. A quick reminder that to get anybody on the honours board, or indeed for your listener interaction questions, you need to send those in to Paula's Run Club at momentumbroadcast.co.uk. You can text them to +44 7564 747 914, or you can send them on socials to @Paula's Run Club. So finally, just to wrap up, we have a lovely letter that's come in, Thommo. It's laid out a little bit like a poem, so I think we try and read it with a little bit of poetic intonation in there. This one's come in from Anthony, and I just think it's a really nice way to finish off the Shakeout this week.
Well, do you want to go first? This is a lovely
We'll
one.
try and do justice to this poem, which came in from Anthony Young. Thank you very much.
This is lovely.
Thank you for the time, care and energy you put into your podcast. It's one of the friendliest, most enjoyable listens out there. I've watched every episode. I love hearing your thoughts and insights, as well as listening to the excellent guests that you invite on. Paula, happy birthday.
I read this bit.
I know, that's why I was doing the intro.
Oh, I see, right, yeah. Paula, happy birthday. Thank you for being such a huge inspiration to my running. Over the years, listening to you and watching you has genuinely shifted the way I think about what's possible. Where I once held on to very specific targets, a 14-minute 5K and a 2:15 marathon, because of you, my mindset has changed. Now the goal is to become the absolute best I can be, to do the work, to pursue my potential and not limit myself with arbitrary goals I decided in advance. Thank you for everything you've done and for all you continue to do.
Chris, thank you. In 2021, I watched live as you raced the Kew Gardens Olympic trials. I remember you on the start line in your grey vest, black shorts and your black painted shoes. I knew you had a chance, but the competition was huge and it felt like everything would have to go perfectly. As the race unfolded and you slipped out of sight, I kept believing, but it honestly looked like the dream was drifting away. Then, as the coverage cut back to you at around 35 kilometres, you'd rejoined the lead pack. I was on the edge of my seat. Moments later, you started to pull away. I was out of my seat, shouting at the TV. My heart was pounding and adrenaline was flowing. You hit your stride and began to pull away. It looked effortless. You looked unstoppable. When you came into the final straight, I shed a tear. Seconds later, you were celebrating and crossing the line. You'd done it. You were an Olympian again. Tears streamed down my face and the lump in my throat made it hard to swallow. Whenever training gets hard, when I'm tempted to ease off in a race, make excuses or drop back, I think of you. I think of that race. Your Kew Gardens race was a masterclass in self-belief and the absolute refusal to give in. I can't thank you enough for that day, Chris. You really have helped more people, more ways than you'll ever realise. Thank you both. With the very best wishes, Anthony. Oh, Thommo can't answer because he's crying.
I'm not. That's really...
That is. See, you are.
Really
well, you could say you got emotional.
Yeah. I went back there for a second. That's really lovely, that. I didn't... Yeah.
Hence why we planned that I would read out Chris's bit.
Well, I hadn't read it all. Wow. That was really sweet, because it's like, you go back there every now and again. Do you know what, as well? And I can now understand this a bit. The further you get away and the more you feel like it's another lifetime, the more emotional it gets, I think, as well, because it's like when he said the line of you looked effortless, you looked on top. I'm like, I couldn't feel less like that now. I feel like just getting around 30 minutes running is an effort. But that's really that's lovely.
Yeah,
Thank
it was
you
a
very
beautiful
much.
way to wrap up. So thank you so
Anthony.
much for the time and effort that went into that, Anthony. This has been a Momentum Broadcast production. Shakeout drops every Thursday, remember, and main pod on a Monday. Thank you for listening.